The highway patrol station sat alone in the New Mexico desert, miles from anywhere. Officer Rick Miller had seen his share of strange things in 20 years on the job, but nothing like this. At 6:47 a.m., a dog appeared out of the dust storm, not limping, not wandering, moving with military precision, despite the shredded paw pads and burn scars covering his body. The Belgian Malinois collapsed at the station door, eyes locked on the American flag above. Miller knelt down, reaching for the faded tactical collar. The name was barely readable beneath dried blood and desert grime. Major, U.S. Army K9 Kia. Killed in action. But this dog wasn't dead. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. His eyes, one clouded from injury, still held that razor focus Miller recognized from his own Marine days. This wasn't a lost dog. This was a soldier, and he had just walked out a grave to get back to his post. Welcome to Mr. Bryan's Tale, where every story takes you on an unforgettable journey. Whether it's thrilling adventures, heartwarming moments, or tales that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, this is your destination for captivating storytelling. If you love getting lost in exciting narratives and discovering new worlds with every video, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss out on the next amazing tale. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The IED detonated at 14:47 local time. 1 second, Sergeant Leo Vance was following Major's alert. The Malinois frozen 3 meters ahead, paw raised, eyes locked on disturbed earth. The next second, the world became fire and flying metal. Major was closest to the blast. The shock wave lifted him off his paws and threw him 30 feet into a concrete wall. When the ringing in Vance's ears finally cleared, when the smoke thinned enough to see, he screamed Major's name until his throat bled. But Major was gone. The blast had torn through the compound wall, creating a gap into the labyrinth of Kandahar's bombed-out districts. Vance, left arm shattered and bleeding from a dozen shrapnel wounds, crawled toward the hole. His team pulled him back. Gunfire erupted from nearby buildings. The IED had been bait for an ambush. They had to extract. Now, Major, Vance's voice cracked. Major, his lieutenant, face grim, was already calling it in. K9 Major, presumed Kia. Handler critically wounded. He's not dead. Vance struggled against the medic, strapping him to the stretcher. We can't leave him. We don't leave. Sergeant, we have wounded. We're taking fire. The dog is gone. They dragged him to the helicopter. As it lifted off, Vance stared down at the smoking ruins, searching desperately for movement, for that familiar tan and black form. Nothing, just dust and rubble and the fading hope that his partner, his brother, was somehow still alive. But Major wasn't dead. He was unconscious in a collapsed building, buried under debris, bleeding and broken. And when he woke, he would do what he was trained to do, find his handler. No matter what, Major opened his eyes to darkness. Pain screamed through his body, left rear leg trapped under concrete, ribs burning, head pounding. His right ear heard nothing but high-pitched ringing. His left eye saw only blurred shapes. He tried to stand and collapsed. Tried again. Failed. For 3 days he lay in that rubble, drifting in and out of consciousness. Rain leaked through the shattered ceiling, giving him water. Hunger gnawed his belly. But something deeper than hunger kept him conscious. An instinct coded into his DNA through years of training and love. Handler. Pack. Home. On the 4th day, Major dragged himself free. His left leg wouldn't bear weight. He moved on 3 paws, panting, whimpering. The compound was abandoned now. No American voices. No familiar scents. Just the acrid smell of burned metal and old death. He found the American position by scent. Diesel fuel, gun oil, sweat, protein bars. The blood trail was still there. Vance's blood. Major followed it to the helicopter landing zone, nose pressed to the ground. The scent ended in rotor wash and jet fuel residue. Gone. Extracted. But where? Major limped to the edge of the compound and stared across the desert. Every instinct said run, hide, survive. But under those instincts lay something stronger. The bond between Handler and K9, forged through 100 missions, 1,000 training hours, 3 tours of sleeping side by side in the dark. He didn't understand America or 500 miles or impossible. He only understood one thing. His Handler was alive somewhere, and Major's mission was incomplete. The Belgian Malinois turned southwest toward the setting sun and began to walk. The ghost had risen, and he was going home, 15 days into the desert. Major moved only at night now. Days were too hot, too exposed. His paws were shredded raw from rocky terrain, each step leaving bloody prints. He survived on rats, insects, and stagnant water from bomb craters. The shrapnel wounds on his shoulders had scabbed over badly, infected and weeping. But he kept moving. Southwest, always southwest. Some deep magnetic pull guided him, the same instinct that brought dogs home across continents. He was following the scent of home imprinted on his soul. The abandoned Taliban outpost appeared like a mirage. Major approached cautiously, military training overriding hunger. He cleared the perimeter, checking for tripwires, sending for explosives. Empty, abandoned weeks ago. Inside, among scattered ammunition and propaganda, he found an American radio, dead, but next to it, a solar charger still connected. And as the sun rose, the charger hummed to life, and so did the radio. Static crackled. Then a voice, faint, distant, but unmistakable. Sergeant Leo Vance, medically retired. Major's ears shot forward, every muscle locked. That voice, his handler's voice, broken, hollow, nothing like the confident commands he knew. But Vance, alive. If anyone's listening, if anyone cares, I left my partner behind. I left Major. They said he was dead, but I should have stayed. I should have. The transmission dissolved into static. Major pressed his nose to the radio, whining, pawing at it desperately. But the voice was gone. It didn't matter. The message was received. Vance was alive. Vance was hurting. And somewhere in that broken voice, Major heard what he needed to hear. Handler needs me. Major turned his head southwest, toward America, toward home, toward the partner who thought he was dead. His mission was clear now. Not just survive, return, heal, protect. The ghost had a new target, and nothing would stop him. 43 days since the blast. Major had crossed 2 borders, evaded 3 Taliban patrols, and survived a gunfight by hiding motionless under a truck for 8 hours. His left eye was now completely clouded, blind. The limp had become permanent. He'd lost a third of his body weight, but he was in Pakistan now. Closer. The scent of the sea came on western winds. Home was beyond that ocean. The traffickers caught him outside Quetta. 2 men with nets and poles, hunting strays for the dogfighting circuits. They saw a scarred, half-blind Malinois and saw profit. Major saw threats. Years of combat training detonated. He took the first man's arm at the wrist. Didn't bite to hold, bit to disable. The crunch of bone. The second man swung the pole. Major dodged left, his blind side, and the pole whooshed past. He struck like a viper, seizing the man's ankle and dragging him down. Both men scrambled away, screaming, bleeding. Major didn't pursue. He wasn't a killer. He was a soldier moving through enemy territory. He disappeared into the sprawl of the city, moving through shadows and alleys, invisible as smoke. A nomadic boy found him 3 nights later, hiding under a market stall, too weak to run. The boy didn't see a weapon or a threat. He saw suffering. He brought flatbread soaked in goat milk. Major ate carefully, watching the boy's hands for sudden movements. But there was only kindness. For 2 weeks, the boy sheltered Major in a storage shed, changing his bandages with scraps of clean cloth, feeding him bits of stolen food. Then one morning, the boy led Major to a truck convoy heading west. "Go!" the boy whispered, pointing toward the sunset. "Home." Major licked the boy's hand once, then climbed into the truck bed and laid down among crates. 1 mile closer, then another, then another. Day 187, New Mexico border. Major had crossed the ocean hidden in a container ship, survived 2 months navigating through Mexico, and walked the final 200 miles through desert that reminded him too much of Kandahar. His body was shutting down. Infection raged in his leg. Dehydration blurred his vision worse than the combat injury. But through the fever and exhaustion, he could smell it. America, the scent of home. He was close now, so close. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, shimmering in the heat. Major's three-legged gait had slowed to a stumbling walk. Every breath was labor. Every step was victory. He left bloody paw prints across 2 continents. He wasn't stopping now. The highway patrol station appeared at dawn on day 189. A small white building, satellite dish, American flag snapping in the wind. Major's remaining good, I locked onto that flag. Red, white, blue, the colors he'd served under. Protected, bled for. He tried to walk the final 100 yards with dignity. Military bearing. Head up, ears forward, the way Vance had trained him. But his legs finally gave out at the door. He collapsed onto the concrete, chest heaving, vision darkening. Through the encroaching unconsciousness, he heard the door open, boots on pavement, a sharp intake of breath. Jesus Christ. Hey, buddy. Hey, where'd you come from? Hands touched his neck, gentle and professional, finding the pulse point, finding the collar, finding the name. Major, U.S. Army K9. A pause. Then quiet and shocked. Kia, killed in action. But you're not dead. You're right here. How is that possible? Major couldn't answer, couldn't move. But as darkness took him, one thought remained clear in his fading consciousness. Mission incomplete. Must find Vance. Must find Handler. Officer Rick Doc. Miller had seen death before. 20 years in the highway patrol. 20 before that in the Marines. And he knew what a body looked like when it was giving up. This dog should be dead. The scars alone told a story of survival beyond reason. Burns, shrapnel wounds, infected gashes. He carried Major inside and laid him on the floor. The K9's breathing was shallow and rapid. Dehydration, starvation, exhaustion. Miller grabbed the station's first aid kit in his personal medic bag. Old Marine Corps habit, never deployed without it. For fluids first. He'd done this for Rex, his own K9 partner in the Gulf War. The needle slid into Major's foreleg. Saline dripped. Antibiotics followed. Miller worked with the practiced efficiency of a combat medic, his hands remembering what his mind had tried to forget. While Major stabilized, Miller scanned the microchip embedded in his shoulder. The scanner beeped. A file loaded. K9 Major. Service number. K9-47821. Handler. SGT Leo Vance. Status. Killed in action. August 14, 2023. Location. Kandahar, Afghanistan. Miller stared at the screen. August. 6 months ago. This dog had been declared dead 6 months ago. And now he was here, 7,000 miles from that Afghan desert, lying on a highway patrol station floor in New Mexico. How? Miller whispered. How did you do it? He pulled up Sergeant Vance's contact file. Disconnected phone. No active email. Last known address, Montana. Medical retirement status. PTSD. Survivor's guilt. Recommended for inpatient care. The file note at the bottom hit Miller like a fist. Subject refused treatment. Whereabouts unknown. Flag for welfare check. Welfare check. Military speak for we think he might hurt himself. Miller looked down at Major, now breathing easier. Fluids running into his veins. Your handler needs you just as much as you need him, doesn't he? The decision made itself. Miller picked up the phone and started making calls. The calls went nowhere. The Army said Major was deceased, case closed, paperwork finalized. Animal Control said Major was a stray without legal ownership, subject to impound and quarantine. The VA said Vance was no longer active duty, not their jurisdiction. Every door slammed shut. Miller hung up the phone and stared at Major, now sleeping fitfully on a blanket. The K9's legs twitched, running in dreams, still chasing something only he could see. They're going to take you away from him, Miller said quietly. Put you in a cage, lost in the system. while your sergeant drinks himself to death in some cabin, thinking you're dead. His phone rang. Animal control. They'd be there in 2 hours to collect the K9. Protocol. Policy. Procedure. Miller looked at Major, at the scars, at the collar that read Kia, at the sheer impossible it must have taken to cross deserts and borders and war zones to get home. Then he looked at the photograph on his desk. Rex, his own partner, dead in Fallujah, 2004. Miller had carried Rex's body out of that firefight himself. Never got to say goodbye properly. Never got to bring him home. He picked up his phone again. This time, not calling officials. Calling his daughter. Sarah, I need you to cover my shift for a few days. Dad, what's going on? I'm taking a trip. Montana. I'm delivering something to someone who needs it. What are you delivering? Miller looked at Major, already loading supplies into his truck. Food, water, medical kit, blankets. A promise, he said. The kind we made a long time ago. No soldier left behind. He hung up, lifted Major gently into the truck bed lined with blankets, and started the engine. Animal control could file their reports. The Army could keep their paperwork. A warrior was going home. The drive took 3 days. Miller stopped every few hours to check Major's vitals, change bandages, offer food and water. The K9 ate little, but his eyes grew clearer, more alert. He'd lie in the truck bed, head on his paws, watching the landscape pass. Always facing north. Always aware. Miller talked to him. Old Marine habit. Talk to your wounded. Keep them conscious. Keep them fighting. Your handler's name is Leo Vance. People call him Viking. Big guy, blonde beard, hard as nails on the outside. But losing you broke something in him. I've read the reports. 3 psych evaluations. Self-isolation. Refuses help. Classic survivor's guilt. Major's ears flicked at the name. Vance. You've come this far, Major. But the hardest part's ahead. He thinks you're dead. He's built a wall around that grief. When you show up alive, it's going to shatter everything he's convinced himself of. Could go 2 ways. He heals or he breaks completely. By day 3, they reached Montana. Miller had an address from an old VA contact. A cabin 40 miles outside Whitefish, deep in the woods. No neighbors. No phone service. Perfect place to disappear. The dirt road was barely passable. Miller's truck groaned over ruts and rocks. Finally, through the trees, a cabin appeared. Windows dark. Pickup truck outside, covered in dust. Firewood stacked. Sign of life, but minimal. Miller parked and opened the truck bed. Major stood immediately, nose high, sniffing the wind. Then his whole body went rigid, every muscle locked. His tail, which hadn't wagged in 189 days, gave one small, tentative movement. Vance's scent. Somewhere in that cabin. Go ahead, boy, Miller whispered. Go get him. Major jumped from the truck, landed hard on his bad leg, and limped toward the cabin door with the determination of a soldier returning to post. Leo Vance was cleaning his service pistol when he heard the scratching at the door. Probably a raccoon. Or a bear. Didn't matter. Nothing mattered anymore. He'd been staring at that pistol for 3 hours now, working up the courage for a solution. He'd been circling since the day they told him Major was dead. The scratching turned to pawing. Insistent. Urgent. Go away, Vance muttered. A whine. Low. Familiar. Impossible. Vance's hands froze. The sound. He knew that sound. Had heard it 1,000 times. When Major wanted out, wanted food, wanted attention. But Major was dead. Kia. The report said so. The memorial service said so. The guilt that was killing him said so. The whine came again, louder now. Desperate. Vance stood like a man moving through water. Across the room. Hand on the doorknob. Every instinct screaming this wasn't real. Couldn't be real. Was just another PTSD hallucination. He opened the door. Major stood on the porch. Skeletal. Scarred. Half-blind. Leg twisted. Barely standing. But alive. Standing at attention the way Vance had trained him years ago. Eyes locked on his handler's face. Tail wagging, slow and uncertain. asking question. Do you still know me? Do I still belong to you? The pistol fell from Vance's hand and clattered on the floor. Major? His voice was a broken whisper. You're dead. They said you were dead. Major took one limping step forward, then another, closed the distance between death and resurrection, pressed his scarred head against Vance's leg, and Leo Viking Vance, decorated sergeant, hardened warrior, collapsed to his knees and wrapped his arms around his partner, and sobbed like the world was ending and beginning at the same time. You came back. You impossible stubber, you came back. Behind them, Miller watched from the truck, tears on his weathered face. No soldier left behind. For 2 weeks, neither of them left the cabin. Miller stayed the first few days, making sure both soldiers stabilized, Major's wounds properly treated, Vance eating again, sleeping again. Then he quietly left them to do what warriors do, heal each other. Vance worked on Major with the dedication of a combat medic, cleaned and rebandaged wounds, antibiotics twice daily, physical therapy for the ruined leg, short walks at first, then longer, special diet to rebuild muscle, and always talking to him. I thought I'd lost you. I was ready to follow you. Buddy couldn't see the point anymore. Major would rest his head on Vance's knee, that one good eye watching his handler's face, absorbing every word. But Major was working on Vance too. Wouldn't let him sleep past dawn, nosed him awake, insisted on morning walks, brought him sticks, dropped him at his feet, the old training games. When Vance started to drift into the dark places, Major would press against him, grounding him, a physical anchor to reality. The nightmares came for both of them. Vance would wake screaming from dreams of the explosion. Major would whimper and thrash, running through hostile deserts in his sleep. They'd find each other in the darkness, two wounded soldiers reminding each other they'd survived. One morning, 6 weeks after the reunion, Vance woke to find Major sitting by the door, duty collar in his mouth. Not the tactical one, the training collar, the one that meant work. You think we're ready to go back? Vance asked. Major's tail wagged. Vance made the call that afternoon. VA office, K9 training program. 2 positions open, instructor roles, teaching the next generation of handlers and dogs. I have some experience, Vance said, hand resting on Major's head, and I know a K9 who has a lot to teach. The story broke 6 months later. Journalists found a connection through Miller's unofficial report. The dead K9 who walked 500 miles home. Networks picked it up. The ghost of the battlefield returns. Military K9 defies death to find handler. The photos of Major's scars, the timeline of his journey, Vance's testimony. The attention was overwhelming. Interview requests, book deals, movie offers. Vance declined everything. This wasn't a story to exploit. This was sacred. But one good thing came from the exposure. The military changed its policy on K9s. No longer classified as equipment, partners with benefits, retirement plans, and, most importantly, never declared Kia without confirmed remains. 7 other K9s, presumed dead in various conflicts, were reclassified as MIA. 3 were eventually found alive, smuggled out by sympathetic locals who recognized the American military collars. The other 4 received proper memorial services, their handlers given closure. Major's story became a symbol. At every K9 training graduation, instructors told new handlers about the Malinois who refused to stay dead, who crossed deserts and borders and wore itself to honor the bond. Loyalty isn't just obedience. It's the unbreakable thing between warriors who faced death together. Vance and Major ran the K9 instructor program for 3 years. Major couldn't do field work anymore. The injuries were too severe, but he could demonstrate, could teach young dogs what real working discipline looked like. The recruits called him the Ghost, a legend walking among them on 3.5 legs. Miller visited twice a year, always bringing Rex's old collar, always sharing stories with Vance over whiskey. 2 men who'd lost partners, one who got his back through a miracle, another who found peace through witnessing it. The Ghost had taught them all one thing: some bonds don't break, not through death, not through distance, not through war. Some bonds transcend everything. For years after the reunion, Major was 10 now, ancient for a military working dog. The scars had faded to silver streaks through his coat. The blind eye had clouded completely white. The limp was permanent. But every morning, he'd wait by the door for Vance, ready for their patrol around the training grounds. They walked slowly now, Vance matching pace with his aging partner. Major would inspect the perimeter with the same intensity he'd shown in Kandahar, even though the only threats here were squirrels and the occasional curious deer. Old habits, old purpose. The vet had said Major's time was coming. Heart condition, arthritis, kidneys failing. Natural age, combined with the trauma his body had endured. Months, not years. Vance knew. He'd known the moment the vet's expression changed during the last checkup, but knowing and accepting were different countries. One cold November morning, Major didn't rise for patrol, just looked at Vance from his bed, tail wagging weakly. Not today. Too tired. Vance sat beside him, hand on Major's head, feeling the slow, steady heartbeat beneath scarred fur. You did good, buddy. Better than good. You saved me. You know that, right? When you came back, you brought me back too. Major's tail thumped once against the floor. You can rest now. The mission's complete. We're both home. We're both safe. You can rest. Major sighed, a deep settling sound, and closed his eyes. He passed 3 days later, surrounded by the handlers and K9s he'd trained, with Vance's hand on his side. Peaceful, earned. They buried him at the training facility, beneath a stone marker. K9 Major. The ghost. Loyalty knows no distance. No soldier left behind. Vance stood at the grave as the sun set, and for the first time since that day in Kandahar, he smiled. See you on the other side, partner. Some bonds don't end. They just change form. Forever. If Major's 500-mile journey proved anything, it's that loyalty, courage, and unbreakable bonds can overcome even the impossible. This story reminds us that heroes come in all forms, sometimes on 4 legs, scarred and limping, but never giving up. If this story moved you, if Major and Sergeant Vance's reunion touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to Mr. Brian Tales. We bring you the most powerful true stories of courage, loyalty, and the incredible bonds between humans and animals. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another story that will inspire you, make you believe in miracles, and remind you what true devotion looks like. What did you think of Major's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever witnessed an unbreakable bond between a soldier and their K9? We'd love to hear your stories. Thank you for watching Mr. Brian Tales, where every story honors the warriors, the loyal, and the brave. Until next time, remember, some bonds transcend everything.